Okay, number 9. We have two options again. We can either factor or we can use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to use both methods just so you can see. We're going to start off with the factoring method. We've got 3x squared minus 9x equals 0. You'll notice that we have two terms again. These are the ones that people struggled with. This is not the difference of two squares because you do not have a perfect square minus a perfect square. So we have to figure out, do they have anything in common? Well, 3 goes into 3 and 3 goes into 9. So we have a GCF and they both have x's. So our GCF is going to be 3x. And I'm going to divide this by 3x to figure out what goes in the parentheses. And when we divide, 3's cancel, the x's subtract, that gives me 1x. And then I divide here, 9 divided by 3 is 3, and the x's cancel. And so now we're ready to solve. Well, remember, anytime you have an x on the outside, that x is always going to equal 0. And then inside the parentheses, it's going to be the opposite. So our solutions are 0 and 3. So that one was fairly easy to factor, didn't take very many steps. But again, if you're confused at what to do when you have two terms, then that may not be your best option. So let's look at the quadratic formula. All right, so we're going to go through and find what A equals, B, and C. A is in front of our x squared, so that's 3. B is in front of our x, that's -9. C is our constant, there's not one, so that's 0. And then we're going to find opposite B, the discriminant, and 2A. Opposite B, B is -9, so opposite B is +9. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So that we're going to put not the opposite b, we're going to put b right here, -9, 3, and 0. Okay, and then you can plug that in your calculator. -9 squared, whoops, make sure you put parentheses, -9 squared minus 4 times 3 times 0. Which is 81. Okay, and then 2a, 2 times 3, because a is 3, is 6. So now we have our three numbers that we're going to plug into our formula. So x equals 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 over 6. And again, 81 is a perfect square, so if you could go ahead and just replace that with a 9 if you knew that. Or you can just type it in your calculator now. Remember, we got to put parentheses around the numerator. Find the best light for this. All right. And 9 plus the square root of 81. Go outside the radical bar, close it, and divide by 6. That gives me 3. So x equals 3. And then I can hit second enter, and then just scroll back and change that to a minus sign and hit enter, and that equals 0. So you can see that we got the same answer when we factored as when we used the quadratic formula. Okay, now your test is Wednesday, and it's going to look just like this with the same type of question. So make sure you're very familiar with your formulas. Everything that's on the study guide will be on your test. So you will have the quadratic formula that you won't have to memorize. You'll have your discriminant you won't have to memorize. What you will have to know is if the discriminant is negative, there's 0 solutions. If it equals 0, there's 1 solution. And if it's positive, there's 2 solutions. So that won't be on here like it was on your quizzes. So you'll have to remember that. All right, good luck on your test.